The Immortal John Hancock here with another discussion, and today I'm talking to you about mini consoles, collectibles or junk. Now, I've been collecting for nearly 30 years, and I've seen this hobby grow from kind of like a fringe, only serious collectors to now it's mainstream. It seems like more and more people are jumping into the hobby for good and bad. And I want to talk to you about mini consoles that have become very popular. It seems like every year now there's more and more of these, kind of mini versions of mainstream consoles that came out, several years ago. And I want to talk to you about them. There seems to be more and more coming out. Recently, Sega Genesis Mini was reviewed. It's not out yet, and there's some issues with that. I don't have it in person, but I've heard from known reviewers that there's some sound issues with that. So I'm going to go backwards and kind of state probably the more popular of the mini consoles came out mid-2000s. And Atari Flashback came out and it wasn't good at all, but the Atari Flashback 2 was probably the most popular one. And when I classify a mini console that looks like an original console and has built-in games. There's a lot of different classifications and items that are out there. I have most of them. I don't have all of them. And this was a very popular item. It was an easy way to relive an Atari 2600 games. It had a lot of the classics on there. There is even a mod that you can do. You can add actually a cartridge slot to some of these. And some people have done that. It's not compatible with everything. That's pretty neat. Anyways, that was a cool product. I did enjoy it back in the day. But like many people, I stopped playing on it. And I kind of went back to the original hardware. And so that's kind of where I'm at now with a lot of these mini consoles. And so it seems like they're all over the place. There's good ones and bad ones. Just looking here, I have a table here with my mini consoles that I've collected. And some, over time, there's been kind of a wide variety come out. So here's another one, and this is of the Intellivision. And this one had some issues. It's more of a collectible. And so, this is signed by, Keith Robinson, who's now no longer with us, unfortunately. And so I'm really excited by having this in my collection. But do I play this? No, I don't. I play on the original Intellivision. And it seems like more and more, these mini consoles are a great way to sample, something, but it doesn't replace the original for me. I think there's pros and cons, and each one has different ups and downs. And so fast forward, there was other things to come out. This is a good one. The C64 Mini, I think, again, this is a great way to experience and sample the Commodore 64. I used it to capture some footage. As a YouTuber, this is pretty neat. There is a full-fledged one coming out, and I'm really excited about that. But yeah, so that's another mini console that's all right. You had the PlayStation Classic, which I ended up then purchasing for $20. It was rock bottom, and I had some problems with it, but that is easy to mod. But at the end of the day, I don't think these are great options, and I'm going to explain why. I think it all depends on what type of person you are. I'm going to compare these mini consoles to music. Okay, say you're a classic rock fan and you're a fan of the band, Black Sabbath or Zeppelin, and so if you're just kind of like a casual fan, you're gonna either search and find like a greatest hits album or a digital download. But if you're like a hardcore fan, you're going to search out each album. You want to listen to every song. And that's kind of how these mini consoles are. I think mini consoles are a good way of experiencing some classics of a retro console, but it's not going to replace a retro console. And you're succumbed to a very cheap piece of hardware that's prone to breaking over time. I think these are novelty items. Some are better than others. And I think, that's something to consider. And so are these going to be junk or everywhere? It's hard to say. Like I went to Game On Expo in Arizona, and I saw several mini consoles. It didn't look like people were picking them up, This is a good one. If you're going to think about getting, one of these, this is a pretty good one. This came out at 60 bucks. I think the price was right. And you can soft mod it to make it play other things. I have one of these to capture footage in my studio, and I enjoy it. Do I play on it all the time? No, but it's great as a YouTuber to use that function. It can play many other classic consoles, but at the end of the day, it's just a sampling. It's not replacing. I have the entire Nintendo Entertainment System game library for the United States, minus one box. And, I prefer to play on something such as a FPGA, Field Programmable Gate Array. And that is I think, a better type of console that accepts cartridges. I could go on and on about that. So, anyways, this is a good one. But again, just a sampling of what Nintendo offered. And so, at the end of the day, in 20 years, are we going to find these? Is anybody going to care? I don't know. Like, I think they're just very disposable little relics, and this was made by Nintendo, so it's going to be semi-collectible, especially in nice shape. And they came out with a Super Nintendo, and that's going to be sought after. This is pretty neat. Had some cool stuff to it, but cool games. Had an unreleased game added to it, but if I want to play a Super Nintendo, I have Analog's FPGA console to do that. The Super NT, the Analog Super NT is going to be the way I play Super Nintendo. And so do I play my Super Nintendo Mini? No, I don't. It's cool. I purchased one as a collectible. And so it's a couple different categories. One, is it worth it? And, is it worth it to play? Or two, do you think it's going to be collectible? It's hard to say. Nintendo could re-release these, or down the road there could be one that just plays everything better. And so, to play, they're pretty good. To collect, I think it's okay. Sega Genesis Mini has been reviewed by some other YouTubers. I didn't ask for one. I didn't review it, so I'm just going off some other reputable YouTubers saying that there's some sound issues with their mini console. And so that's a tough one too. For me, I have the Mega SG, and so I think that's going to be the way I play my carts and my games. But for other people, there's other options of experiencing Sega Genesis. There's several compilation packs going back to PlayStation 2 on Xbox 360, Xbox One, Switch, etc., even Steam. There's a lot of great compilations of games for the Sega Genesis. You also experience it that way. And then there's another category of people, and that's the people that play and love the Raspberry Pi. And so, for people that don't care about collecting at all and just playing games, that's another option. And so going back to the question, are these collectible? It's hard to say. I have a table full of this stuff, and to be honest, very few things are hooked up. Do I play and do I play? And is it collectible? I don't know. They're still making Atari flashbacks. I reviewed last year the Atari Flashback 9, and it's okay. But for me personally, because I'm into the homebrew scene, I would rather play on an original 2600 on a CRT. With the Sega Genesis, Super Nintendo, and Nintendo with awesome FPGAs out there, that's the way I'm going to roll. It costs a little bit more, but then you can play everything. But, I know that my stance and my play style, and just because I'm a YouTuber, I want to have access to as many games as possible. And for a lot of people out there, that might be you watching this, maybe you don't care as much. Maybe you just want to like the top 20 games. TurboGrafx 16 Mini is coming out this next year. It's going to have 50 plus games on it to play, and for a lot of people that's going to be the only way to play TurboGrafx 16 because of price. Price is another issue. These mini consoles offer an affordable way to play many games that are legally, by the way, that are normally very expensive. And so it's nice. It's a nice way to have a plug and play experience. But you know, I don't know. It's just a tough thing for me. I'm on the fence. I think a lot of these aren't going to keep the value, to be honest, because I think there's going to be things that come out later that are better. You know, what if they come out with a 4K mini console? Then that makes everything else obsolete. You know, with the continued evolution of technology, I think that many of these collectibles aren't going to keep their value. It's not why I picked them up. I picked them up for convenience, or I was curious about how good they emulated games. I do think that FPGA style consoles are the future, and I think that emulation has its place, but I don't think it is going to replace the actual thing. Now, hardware failure is an issue, so these are nice to have as a backup option to play some of the games. So that's my thoughts. What do you think of all these mini consoles? Do you think they're garbage? Do you collect them? Do you play on them? Because there's essentially three different things I'm talking about here. You know, do you play on your mini console? Is it something that collects dust and sits on a shelf? Or do you just not do it at all? Don't purchase it. Play through emulation, play on a Raspberry Pi, play through a computer. I want to know your thoughts. I really appreciate the ongoing support for my channel, and I love doing these ongoing discussions. This has been on my mind as, you know, the Sega Genesis Mini reviews come in. I still want to get one and look at it myself. Hopefully there's an update for that, because I'm a huge Sega fan. Again, thank you for the ongoing support. You folks are wonderful and beautiful. This is the immortal John Hancock. You take care.